Tickled me and almost am nervous because I never have people on the podcast that I work with. But I've wanted to have you on the podcast for about a year and a half now. And Coach, it's great to have you.
Well, I'm excited. And you said you're what'd you say?
A little nervous.
No, but tickled pink.
Tickled
and
pink,
you have
yeah.
a little pink on.
I do have a little
and
pink on.
October
Yes.
is Breast Cancer Awareness
I know.
Month.
It's a
So
big
our
one for you
team
guys.
just got back from the DCH Cancer Treatment Center, spending some time with some patients. And it's Night on the Green this week, and it's where we raise all the money that we present during gymnastics season at the Power of Pink stuff. So you are appropriate this week.
I am. I'm
right?
glad. I put it on this morning. You know, it's funny. It's one time I wore it, and people go, "Oh, you're wearing purple. You're not allowed to wear purple in Tuscaloosa."
Well,
and
I think
given the fact that what I used to wear, I have to always be careful. But I'm like, it's not. It's blue, and it's okay.
It's not, blue and pink.
It's blue and pink. It works.
It's
Thank you
good.
for coming on.
Well, I'm honored to be here, and you've just done so much in my many years now of just making impact in my life.
Well, thank you.
And what I get to do every day. So I'm honored to be able to come on your podcast.
Well, thank you. We're sitting here in your practice gym and where greatness is made and the challenge. Talk to our listeners, because you being an All-American as a gymnast, I mean, right over your right shoulder, I see your names there from back when I was playing. So we're not going to mention the years.
That's right. Don't age us, please.
Don't age us. But being an All-American gymnast, balance beam, right?
Yes, a national champion, 90. Well, I wasn't going to say years.
Okay, you can say 92 and
93.
Yes, it was good years for me.
And an All-American, which is a lot of people don't realize how challenging it is to become an All-American.
Yeah.
I just don't know that, we set out these goals, like I want to be a collegiate athlete. And then the bar is set so high for all sports to become an All-American. It's quite an honor.
Yeah.
To be able to represent your university.
And your name's up there forever.
It is.
That's pretty cool.
It is.
And now you lead this organization. Talk to me about that.
Dude, well, the biggest thing I've learned is that it is an organization ran by a lot of people. It's never about one person. It's always about being part of something that's bigger than who you are. And I look at it as I get to be a part of that forever and ever, because I'm a legacy through the program. But when you're leading it, you're like a CEO of gymnastics. And so you are responsible for so many lanes. But where you have to really be careful is to make sure you're putting, as my mother will say, an emphasis on the right syllable, right? Make sure that the things that are most important are what you're dealing with every single day. And that you have to really become strong at what's important for me to do today, what's important for me to do tomorrow, what is something I can delegate, and what is something just to put aside, doesn't matter, I don't need to deal with. And that is from the administrative side of so many aspects. When you're in the gym, it is about what does each individual athlete need to be the very best they need to be today. Because you don't know if you get tomorrow. And it's very easy to look so big picture and get so caught up in the where I want to get to and outcome and results and the big picture. But you lose the fun of the journey if you don't love today. And so I really think it's important that that's something I have to remind myself, to be able to coach today, be present today, give your best today, even though you do know you're responsible for all these other things.
Talk about the on-the-job learning that you've gone through to take over, because there's no place that you go that says, learn to be the head coach of a top 5 program in the country that's competing for national titles. There's no course. There's no weekend leadership retreat for that.
No, I just feel like, and I've said this many times, that life is a full-time interview.
Yeah.
Everything we do matters. And so every day you are learning, you are growing. Sometimes you fall on your face. And sometimes a decision you make may have not been the best. Sometimes a decision you make may have been the best decision ever for that student athlete, for your career, for your program. And so it's just a matter of looking at the program, what's best for the program, what's best for the university, what's best for the so many things. And so the on-the-job training, there's so many levels and so many pieces to that because you're dealing with someone else's daughter.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
you're dealing with the parents who have dropped their children off, and you're responsible for their well-being and for their growth and their maturity. And so I feel like just like they, we kind of have this little analogy that you come to school at 17, 18 years old as a caterpillar, and you go into the cocoon while you're in college, and it's messy and it's gooey and there's a lot of stuff happening, and you're figuring out, what's my purpose? What's my why? Who am I? I've kind of been under this window of my parents telling me what to do, how to dress, and all these things. And all of a sudden, you get to start making your own decisions. You get this freedom in college. So I say you're in the cocoon. And our job as coaches and as a staff is to help them leave a butterfly, unique, one of a kind, confident and ready for the next chapter of their life. Well, I don't think the evolution of being a head coach is any different. You come in as a caterpillar your first year. You don't even know what you don't know if you haven't sat in that seat before. And then your first year gets underway and you're kind of building off the things you knew as an athlete, the things you knew as an assistant, and the things you learned from your predecessors before you. And I'm a big reader. Like, I think some of the best leaders come from some of the historians of your John Woodens and your Vince Lombardis and your Phil. I mean, there's some basketball coaches that amaze me.
Yeah.
And I think you can constantly be learning from other people. David Patterson came in and spoke to us one year about resilience. And I loved what he said, and it must have been somebody's quote. It said, smart people learn from their own mistakes. Geniuses learn from others. And so I think as a coach, as you sit in that cocoon, and it's messy and it's ugly, that you have to be willing to look outside yourself and look at what other people have done, what other failures have taken place, what other successes people have had. And you learn and grow from those things. And you learn really well that, okay, to be the best you can be, you have to be you, right? So Saban gave me that advice. Right after I became a head coach, I thought, who are 3 important people for me to go talk to that maybe been in these shoes? Well, right across the streets, Coach Saban.
Yeah, pretty good one.
Pretty good one. But he's made mistakes. And he was an assistant, and then he became a head. And the one of the 3 questions I asked him, I said, if you could tell me one word of advice, anything you want it to be, what would it be? And that's exactly what he said. You have to be you. You can't try to be someone else.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's an evolution, though, because you know the expectations that are set for you. We are at the University of Alabama. We are one of the top gymnastics programs.
Yes.
The standards. But you also can't step in this role and not be hungry for those standards, not be hungry for the commitment to excellence that you know is what has driven the success and the legacy of this program.
Not everybody could do this job.
I just try to be the best I can be every day.
I know, but isn't that humbling to a degree? Like, I sit and listen to you talk, and it reminds me so much of probably people who are listening to this that are entrepreneurs. My wife and I had this conversation last night about, God, you just don't know what you don't know until you experience it. And then it challenges you at the heart and at the soul of what you're doing. In sports, so much of what we think as athletes, somebody's making the choices for us. Somebody's telling us how to get better. Somebody's, you're coaching an athlete on the balance beam, and they're trusting you that you're taking care of. It's like getting on an airplane and knowing that the pilot's going to navigate the storm.
Right.
I just have to trust. The trust is hard, and you've got to build into that trust. But as a head coach, standing there and saying, I had no idea to even think about this. Like, how can I even, in today's challenge, and I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to develop a team, get them ready, academics, and finding the greatness and recruiting the next generation, and all those thoughts. And yet I saw you 2 weeks ago at a radio show, and you're working the crowd, and there's a lot to it.
I feel
not to put stress on you.
No, I don't look at it that way. Like,
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
I think that might be the difference in someone being able to do this as a career is you have to love it. And you have to sort of accept the fact that love every piece of it, in the sense I really enjoy public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Some people hate it. They're terrified of it. But I love public speaking because I feel as if the life experiences I've had, if I share them the right way, might be able to help someone else, might be able to make a difference in someone else. I think that people that love our program and love gymnastics and love just being connected to something, it's an opportunity for me to get out there and share my love for the sport, love for what we're doing, love for leadership and all those things, and shake hands and maybe, again, make a difference. I also feel like you have to embrace the fact that there are going to be times where there's criticism.
Yeah.
You have to embrace the fact that there's going to be times that when you are a public figure and everyone's watching, and some people want you to be successful, and some people want to see you fail, and some people want to support you, and some people don't, is that you just have to figure out, what can I control? What can I control? And what can I continue to do to build up my personal self-confidence to be at my very best? Because, people ask, why do you work out? Why do you make sure you do certain things? Well, if I'm at my best, personally, then my team can be at their best. And I think that that's just something that is so important. So it's a piece of my life, and I love that part of my role because I want to be an example to the young women I lead, that taking care of yourself, looking at your body as a shrine, in the sense that you have to feel well, you want to put that positive self-talk, you want to make sure that you're feeding your body, your mind, and your spirit with things that are going to help you be the best you can be versus tear you down, is really important. Doesn't mean I don't have bad days. Doesn't mean there's parts of it that I have struggled with and don't love as much as the other thing, but why not look at it as an opportunity to, I guess a similar comment would be, say thank you to the bad turn. So when an athlete has a really bad turn, I'll say, why are you beating yourself up? Thank it. Because now you can learn, why was that a bad turn? When you have a moment as a head coach where you make a decision and it may not have worked out the way you want it, thank it. Because you learn from it.
Yeah.
Just like when you have, a great mentor, there are going to be things that mentor does that you agree with. And there's going to be things you learn from that mentor and going, when I'm in a position of leadership, power, whatever you want to call it, maybe I won't do it that way. But that's a good thing to learn.
Yeah.
But navigating people.
Yeah, the people. Let's talk about your athletes. Not by name, but your investment in each student athlete that's here is remarkable. I mean, it's really impressive. I see it firsthand, so that's why I remark on it. I know what's in your heart and your soul when you see your athletes walk through these doors or come into your building, or you're seeing how they interact in the community.
I was raised, my mom was a teacher and a coach and a judge. And we have this really cool connection because we both love gymnastics equally. And she is an incredible role model as far as the world of optimism goes.
Where's she from?
Detroit, Michigan.
Okay.
My mom and dad still live in Sterling Heights.
Really?
Same house, 40, lots of years.
Yeah.
And I think because I was raised by a teacher, I realized that it's just kind of in my blood. And as a coach, you're a teacher. You're a teacher not only of the technical aspect of your sport, because you have an eye for the technical part of what you see, how to get better, and that's more of physics and sports psychology and all those types of things, but you're a teacher of life through sport. That's what's so exciting about what you get to do as a coach, is that if you were to ask, why does someone coach, if their number one reason isn't to teach these young women and men, to become better people, then I don't know you should be a coach, because I really think that you are a teacher. Well, I know this. My favorite teachers are the people that loved me and saw me when they didn't expect a thing from me. But they pushed me to be the very best that I could be because they knew I had something in me that maybe I didn't see. And then all of a sudden, you realize as an athlete, as a coach, like, I might be kind of good at this thing. So then you set these expectations for yourself. And as a gymnast goes, we have more perfectionists in our sport than you can ever imagine. But think about the nature of the sport. You start with a 10. It's your 10 to lose. You are being judged in a subjective manner every single day. So the neat part about the brain and the process when you're in college and what we get to teach and coach is when you get to say, gymnastics is what you do. It does not define your self-worth, but it sets a beautiful opportunity for you to set some great goals for yourself, and let's see if we can achieve them together. Mm-hmm. But until you learn to take full ownership and responsibility for your part, then this is where the learning and the back and forth has to be discussed, has to be open to conversation with, what does that look like? Because as a young adult, I don't even know if that really evolves and happens where you go, ownership, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And so I know this, and people say this, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And at the end of their career, I want my athletes to always know, our athletes to always know, we cared about you as a human being. And we are so fortunate that in the world of that we live in gymnastics, is that we are surrounded by some extraordinary human beings that have how they think, their creativeness, their creativity, their maturity at the age that they're at, because the nature of the sport has kind of allowed them to evolve and emerge with a lot of self-responsibility, that you can, at the end of the day, say you're a coach shaped by your athletes, but you've also been a big part of molding them into who they become, to again, ultimately, become this independent, confident butterfly that goes off in the world and can do anything they possibly can.
How do you get that buy-in from your athletes? Because, you know, we always want to say that this generation is different. They are different. Just, I look at the board. You were probably different than Penny was, Housechild, who was long before you, 10 years before you, right? An All-American. And coach had to coach her different than she coached you. So the generation that's here today is different. And particularly given a lot of what's happened in the community, in the gymnastics community, there's a lot of different stresses. How do you get that buy-in from people and build that trust?
One-on-one.
One-on-one.
I think sometimes you'll sit as a team, and as a coach, you'll have this message that you want to make sure the team receives. But honestly, it might be a specific message that 3 of them really need to hear. And what I've learned is trying to do it as a group and not being able to sit down and truly have clear communication and clear understanding that this message I'm trying to give you actually applies to you. That a lot of times in a group setting, you may say something, and the people that really need to hear it aren't the ones that are hearing it.
Yeah, they're going, it's better for her.
They're not talking about me. They're talking about someone else.
Yeah.
So to be able to get buy-in, I believe that having one-on-one personal time, and it may not be in your office. It may not be in the gym. It may be, let's go have a cup of coffee. Let's talk about some things. Some athletes are more guarded in sharing their life stuff because, you know, as a coach, you are their coach. You're not their parent, but you are an extension of their personal growth at a very, very impressionable time in their life. So some athletes want more one-on-one, let me know the inside and outside of your life outside of the gym, that need more of that. And some athletes choose to keep that distance because for them, they can't, it's too personal, or it is just, it's challenging for them.
Yeah.
It could be based on the relationship they had with their parents. It could be the relationship they have spiritually. It could be the emotional maturity, the emotional development of a different athlete. And I know I'm not talking like specific people, so I don't think it's fair to do that. But I hope that this makes sense.
It does. Because I'm sitting there thinking, you know, if we look at, and I'm not trust me, I was not a gymnast. If you saw me, I always say, if you saw me do a tumble, it was an accident at my size. But when I look at the history of junior Olympic or junior development gymnastics coaching, there's a culture of a lot of very harsh coaching.
Excuse me.
There's a history of a lot of very harsh coaching because it works. Fair?
There's a level that a very challenging, tough coach has success.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying there's a better way to do it. I'm not saying that we should walk around and give everyone high fives all the time. Sometimes we need that push and we need that drive to find it internally. But when you get the athletes that show up and they've come from that culture, and you come in and you're like, look, I'm going to be hard on you, but I'm here to help you grow. Sometimes I can imagine they're sitting there thinking like, is this honest?
Yeah.
Or are they going to play a game with me?
Sure. Well, I think they're waiting for the bottom to fall out.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I've seen it. I've seen a lot of it as a coach that has been into club gyms for a very long time recruiting, and there are some amazing club coaches that have a really fine balance. They know their athlete individually.
They spend a lot of time with them.
They probably, well, they do. They spend more time one-on-one with a athlete than their own parents because of the number of hours you're in the gym as an elite level athlete. And so a lot of pressure and a lot of expectation is put on being at that highest level. And so the coach feels it, the athlete wants it, and they're working together on it. And because of some of the old system with being able to get results in a very fear-based environment, a lot of athletes, when you're being positive and you're trying to motivate and you're trying to build up, it's almost, they don't know how to take it. They're going, wait, when is she going to yell at me? Mm-hmm. And I will say, at Alabama, if you have to be an athlete that has to be yelled and screamed at to do something, do not come here. Mm-hmm. Because that's not the nature and the culture inside our gym. I don't want that. And I think sometimes it takes athletes some time. Some of them come in. One particular athlete I'm thinking of right now that's brand new in our program is thriving under a positive coaching style where we are focusing on what is good. And then we'll say, how can you improve? What was good about this? What was bad about this? Okay, here's how we think you can get better. She's thriving. She's getting better every single day. That buy-in is because one-on-one through the recruiting process, through the trust process, she knows, yes, we want to win. Yes, we want to be at our best. But we're not going to sacrifice integrity and respect and class. And that's part of the relationship. A relationship has integrity. Mm-hmm. A relationship has class. And a relationship has respect. And so I feel as if our athletes know that our coaches feel that way and are living that way every day and exuding that kind of confidence, self-esteem, reassurance, then they have every reason to trust that we can get there together.
What would you tell parents? Because I know there'll be parents of gymnasts that are listening to this who are 10 and they're driving to the gym every day and they're going 6 days a week and they're sitting up in the stands and they're watching this and they don't know how to they're sitting there thinking, what do I need to do to get my child ready to have an opportunity at a place like Alabama?
Yeah.
One of the top programs in the country.
There's one word that just comes right screaming out of me is character. I am a true believer that character wins. And what I mean by character is there are character traits in self-discipline, hard work, attitude, energy, all these things. But there are also the character side of teamwork and love and passion and respect and all these different things. So I believe that if parents focus on the character of their daughter, and is my daughter going in there with the right attitude every day? Is my daughter lifting her teammate up every day, even though it's a very individual sport? Yeah. Is my daughter treating their coach with respect? Is she coming in every day thriving to be a better person? Are her eyes on what she is doing every day helping her build her self-esteem or tearing herself down? And I think that if our parents focus on that unconditional love. I'm going to love you no matter what, as long as you are being polite, you are being kind, you are being.
You can be fiercely competitive.
You can be fiercely competitive. And there's that. It doesn't mean because you're focusing on character, we don't have expectations of great success.
Yeah. I think that's a great distinction because I think people misunderstand that. You know, we write books about, and I think what's brilliant about what you're saying is like, you love them, but I know how you coach them. Love is knowing that you have so much more greatness inside of you, and I'm going to be a facilitator.
That's right.
I'm not going to allow you to accept this because I know it's that. Now, I'm going to help you get there if you want to.
Yes.
If you're willing to drive through that storm, but trust me, on the back end, it's going to be worth it.
Right.
You don't see it, but I do. That's love.
Right.
As parenting, that character is going into the gym and knowing as a parent that you're showing and presenting opportunity, but not requirement.
But I would add gratitude.
Yes, gratitude.
Gratitude. Because here's my thing. Is if you have gratitude, then an athlete is in a gym and she's being coached. She is grateful that somebody is giving her that coaching, but is she grateful that mom and dad dropped her off and mom or dad got her there and mom and dad love the opportunity? Not because
playing the leotards.
They wash leotards. They take you everywhere. Are they? Because you see a lot of kids roll their eyes. You see a lot of kids not understand the value of what mom and dad are doing for them. And then on the flip side, you see a lot of parents in front of their children complaining, talking about coaches. Why isn't my child getting playing time? We don't have playing time. We have, did you make the lineup or not? But I hear that in my own youth kids sports that I watch. And I go, you are doing this in front of your child. Do not do that in front of your child.
Yeah.
Because if you want your child to have respect for the coach, they can't see a parent not have respect for the coach. Doesn't mean you're going to always agree with the coach. Matter of fact, you probably won't.
Yeah.
But you're not in there every single day.
Yeah.
So are you teaching the character of your child to have respect for what's going on, know the difference in right and wrong, not accept something that isn't right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Have a threshold.
Okay. Yeah. But so if you are grateful that your parents are getting you there, if you are grateful that the coach is coaching you, if you're grateful that you have a sports psychologist that you can work with to help you understand what's going on with that mindset, performance mindset, self-belief mindset, all those things that are so important in making you a fierce competitor, okay, then you are growing. But I think if you're living in a negative, why haven't they done this for me? Why hasn't this happened for me? Then you are in a very closed mindset. You are in a very, what have you done for me lately mindset? And I don't believe you're going to be the best you're going to be in that kind of mindset. Mm-hmm. I think if you are looking at, okay, am I going into the gym? Is my child going into the gym every day with a good attitude? As a parent, that's important to me. Is my child going in every day giving the very best they have? Yes, they may be tired from school. Yes, they may have had a lot of homework last night. Okay, but let's say you only have 50%. Are they giving 100% of that 50% that day? And be okay with that. Are they treating people, their coaches, their classmates, their teammates, their parents, okay, with respect?
It's interesting. It made me think, and I know you have a history in the pharmaceutical world.
Yeah.
When you finished competing before you got into coaching. I remember going to a conference in New York City, and our senior VP sent around a letter to all of us and said, we're going to be staying in hotels in New York City for a conference. And I want to remind you that all the maids that you see have come to the United States for an opportunity. Many times they're physicians from their home country that are working as maids in order to get their immigration status. Don't forget and don't believe that they are below you because they work as a maid and you have this cush job. They left many times a very wealthy job for the opportunity. Be grateful and tell them thank you when you see them in the hallway.
Amen.
I never forgot that.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was so powerful.
Yes.
Because it's right. We walk by people in the hallway in a hotel, and I travel all the time. You do too. And you walk by and they're like, hey, are you out of your room? Yeah, no, I'm good. And you look at your room and you got stuff all over the place. And from that moment forward, it started being, no, my towels are in a spot ready for them to pick it up. My bed is picked up. And so in other words, their job, I'm grateful for what they do to help me feel better away from home.
Right.
But I'm just the next person's room they're
Right.
cleaning. And
But isn't there a parallel? You just made me think about something. Isn't there there's somewhat a parallel when you're on a team of 15 or 16 or 17 girls and 6 get to compete? We talk about everyone having a role, and you have to own your role.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about the walk-on versus the
Yeah.
scholarship athlete and how there should be no difference because the expectations are the same if you're on that team. You should be able to walk into a gym and not have any clue who is volunteered to be there and who is on a scholarship. And to me, when I say life is a full-time interview, you should love that maid just as much as you love the concierge that's getting you to the finest restaurant.
Correct.
Because they have a role. And if they didn't do their role, then none of it would be working exactly the way it should be working and be humming the way it should be humming. Because it's all important. Because life is a full-time interview. Everyone you talk to, everyone you treat, you never know who could be your next boss.
Yeah.
If that woman is a maid, is a physician, and all of a sudden over some time gets accepted into the United States of America and all of a sudden is a physician in the United States, how do you know she's not going to be your next surgeon?
Yeah, that's right.
And I just feel it all goes full circle, and I believe it's all interconnected. And I just feel like if you show gratitude, unconditional gratitude, regardless of circumstance, in whatever scenario in life that you're in, you can never go wrong.
My daughter, who's a senior in college, she was doing one of these youth groups, charity thing, like service organizations, to get ready, whatever. And she had to go do an interview, and it was for young women in Hoover, Alabama. And they bring her in. She has 15 minutes to sit in the waiting room, and there was the admin sitting in the waiting room. And then the next young lady would come in, and she'd go in, and it would be this process. There was always two young girls who were interviewing in the waiting room. And then she went in and had an interview, and there were 3 judges. When she got her review back, there were 4 ratings. The 4th rating was the admin.
That's right.
And they were watching the interactions and how kids could communicate with somebody else and how they could have a conversation. That one waited. That was a brilliant move that many times we don't realize. To your point, life is a full-time interview. People are watching us at Panera Bread. They're watching us at Starbucks. They're watching us tell the ushers, thank you for volunteering and being a part of the organization here. And they're hurting and excited, just like you are. I mean, everybody in your organization is committed towards one major mission, right? I mean,
There's no doubt.
yeah.
We are here for the student athletes.
You are massive on gratitude. You've also talked about taking care of yourself. And as a teacher, as a coach, I mean, you're on this campus with some very, very, very high-performing coaches, professors, leaders. So how do you take care of yourself and the gratitude in your circle around you?
I think I know that I am better when I have a schedule and a commitment of, okay, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to go lift. On Mondays, I'm going to meet my running group. It's going to be around some incredible women that just inspire me. We talk about a lot of different things on our run. And if I know in my 7 days, I can get 3 to 4 days of taking care of myself with a nice workout, with the Pilates, with something, I just feel better.
Okay.
And so there's
So it gives you, because you don't lack for energy.
Well, I don't, because I think I make sure I try to get good rest.
Yeah.
I do try to fuel my body with good, smart choices. And so I have been warned, though, as an energizer bunny, right? And that's kind of, I do have a lot of energy. Sometimes one of the hardest things, but the most important things, is to be still. And that you do your best meditation. You learn the most by when you take a second and you sit down and you just try to quiet your mind and you try to be still. And that's probably the biggest change I've made in this year's team versus the last 4 years, is that we are doing meditation on a regular basis, just like I'm exercising on a regular basis. Because if you really want to develop your mind, they say it's like a muscle, then you have to be consistent over time in taking the time to be still, in the taking the time to breathe and be able to kind of have self-reflection to say, okay, am I spending my energy on the right things? Remember in the very beginning of our talk, I talked about what are the things that are most important today, tomorrow, delegate, get rid of. I think it all comes down to being able to take a moment and pause and realize you are putting your emphasis on the right level.
So it comes down to every person in this program, walk on to major recruit, has a role.
Absolutely. Every one of your staff.
Every one of your staff. I love watching gymnastics. I love coming on Friday nights and ESPN and SEC. Greg Sankey and I did a podcast, and he was talking about sitting in the chair, and he said, I look at, nobody knows what it's like to be in the chair unless you're in the chair.
Amen.
But he said, I look at the success of Friday Night Lights for gymnastics and just this explosion that has happened of interest. And you watch they show the bench, I'm going to say, and there may be an athlete who is absolutely not competing tonight, and she's into every routine, just living it, and has a powerful role. And I say that, saying that from being a baseball player, where sometimes you look in the dugout and the guys are just, we're just sitting there because there's long games. But you're in it. But in gymnastics, everybody's creating that energy, and how do you coach that person to believe in that?
I think that it's about inclusion. So when you are having events in the community, you're having events in your gym, is how do you make everyone feel important, everyone feel a part of it? But, I love how you said everyone's, passionate at the meets. You have to work at that.
Yeah.
That doesn't just happen. So when we are in the gym and we are doing what we called an intra-squad, basically putting the girls in teams, and we are practicing, drilling, and rehearsing being under pressure. We have the girls in their, what we call our just kind of zone area, and they are watching, and we will actually video what they call the bench and show. I've actually showed an athlete before, look at your face. No, you're not competing, but this face tells it all. And I believe the person up on that apparatus feels your energy. So are you going to send them positive energy, or are you going to send kind of a vibe that I didn't do my best, it's about me?
Yeah.
It can't be about you. Matter of fact, we have this saying, the next second's most important. The next second's most important. Because what's done in the future is, in the past, it's done. What's next is most important. And if you are giving your energy to that teammate, they feel it, they breathe, they live off of it. So you work at that, and it's something you build. And some teams naturally have it, but some teams have that role player that their job is to create the energy.
Yeah.
One of our teams, and I want to say it was maybe 2012, we were back-to-back champions in 11 and 12. We had an athlete from Birmingham, Alabama, that was so fearless of making, I don't want to say, this sounds terrible when I say it, a fool of herself, but like she would scream and yell and get red-faced, and she'd fire everybody else up. And it was so impactful. She didn't compete in a single event. Periodically, she'd be a exhibition, sometimes step in and fill in, but very seldom. And I loved watching her. And I use her as an example today of owning that role and owning how you can make a difference. But it's inclusion. It's creating that vibe from the day they walk in here. And I think it's even part of the recruiting process. We talk about everyone matters. Everyone's important. And that goes both ways, because how you are outside the gym is a reflection of our team. So like in the classroom, we are very responsible in the classroom. Our ladies strive very hard academically. Doesn't mean they're all A students. But when a teacher gets a gymnast in their class, they are so excited about having a gymnast in their class because the people before them have set that bar, right? And so you are a part of something bigger than yourself the minute you become an Alabama gymnast.
Yeah.
And you have to own that role inside the gym and outside the gym. Because how you treat somebody, like we said, in the coffee shop, you're rude to the person giving you coffee. They're going to know if you have Alabama gymnastics on your chest, oh, that Alabama gymnast was nice or rude. So maybe they think all Alabama gymnasts are nice or rude.
Right.
Guilty by association, I don't know. But I just feel that our ladies have to have an understanding that they don't have to do this. They get to. So you need to have gratitude that you represent something bigger than yourself. Doesn't mean you're not going to make a mistake. Doesn't mean we're asking you to be perfect. But as a coach, if you strive to do those things and set the bar high, and they're chasing that type of perfection, they're not going to reach perfection, but they're going to somewhere end up in excellence. And that's okay.
Yeah, that is. So I'm still fascinated by you. And,
and I wanted to share with you something real quick.
Yeah.
When I started talking about Kathy Randall
Yeah.
and the epitome of the kindness of a human being that loves this University of Alabama, Jacqueline Morgan is part of the Honors College, one of the finest women I've ever been around. Everybody at the University of Alabama is here for the students. And if you become an employee of the University of Alabama, I don't want you to forget that that's your role. That's your responsibility. We are here because we want to make a difference in the students and the student athletes' lives. And if everybody on this campus knows that that is the ultimate mission, to recruit the best of the best and to provide excellence and guidance, no matter what role you have as a student here, then this university thrives, this university grows. And that's the kind of heart and passion I want everybody that gets to wear that script A on their chest, whether they are a student athlete or whether they are a student, to take ownership in. Think about that for a second.
Well,
I love that. It's so big. It's so massive.
But that's why, and I get asked a lot of times in Baton Rouge, how can you do this? Like, I'm working for the dark side, right? Okay. And if you're not in the Southeast, you have to understand that the Southeastern Conference prides itself in being the most elite athletic organization in college. Come at me, y'all. Come at me. You can't. Okay, I know Stanford has a lot of national titles. They make up sports. Okay, so I want people to understand. So going to LSU and playing ball there and 3 degrees from there and everything, and then coming over here, I get calls like, how can you wear that Alabama shirt when you're on vacation? I'm like, with pride, and let me tell you why. When I first started here, I knew there were 2 major historic programs, football and gymnastics. You guys already had things in place. Mm-hmm. So I never reached out. I never made phone calls. I never did anything. I never reached out to you.
I know.
Yeah.
I found you through Murph.
Right. Exactly. And
but this guy, Brett, he's awesome. I'm like, he's pretty cool.
Right. And I'm like, no, because I respected what y'all had. Mm. And I started over here, and I remember there was a player that they asked me to see from football one time. And I was in here. I'm still an LSU fan. I mean, I watch the games 13 weeks of the year and root for LSU, except for now when we root against in football in November, and then in gymnastics I'm rooting for Bama and everything. It's great. And somebody even asked me, how do you root for Bama baseball over LSU? I said, it's easy. I get to know the people.
Right.
But there was a kid that I saw who was very sick, and I remember thinking, this is not going to fit the impression of what I think from the outside. I'm about to make a recommendation that I don't think anybody's going to like. This kid cannot play. And this kid was super, uber talented. Mm-hmm. And I remember giving the report, saying, going into the person's office, I said, hey, look, I just don't think. Okay, hold on, let me make a phone call. Calls Coach Saban and said, this kid can't play this weekend. And Coach's answer was, make sure he gets the care he needs when he comes back. We'll take care of him like he never missed a day. And I remember, I get chills thinking about it, because as a psychologist, many times when we're dealing with human behavior, we don't want anyone to ever have a negative outcome because of their emotional state.
Right.
And I remember sitting there going, this is an organization I can get behind. That's not just Coach Saban. That's an entire department.
It's a culture.
It's a culture.
It's truly a culture.
And it has been easy for me to become a raving fan of Bama now because of that. And getting to know you guys and your love of your athletes and the respect and I know the late night phone calls, because I know how much you love, you think, you're gracious, but yet you're passionate about your athletes, your team members, your organization. At every step of this organization, I get it. That's why I'm here, and that's why I wear the A very proudly.
Well, I appreciate all that you're saying. And as far as the SEC goes, it's different.
It is different.
That slogan,
it just means more.
It just means more. And we should never apologize for it. I love being a part of the SEC conference, and I love the rivalries, and I love how we're all trying to get better than everybody else, because it just continues to breed more and more excellence. And I think that you have to know what you're signing up for, though. I think it's very important. If you want to be an SEC athlete of any sport, you have to understand There are high demands. There are high pressure. And you better look at pressure as a privilege and be hungry for it. But we also have to do a good job in recruiting those athletes that are wired that way. That's part of their DNA, and they can't even, make an excuse for it. It's just who they are. But I also think it's very important as a coach and a part of our program is that we understand a lot happens from the time we recruit them and in the ages of 18 to 22 years old. Yeah. Some athletes are going to make it. Some athletes are going to go to the next chapter sooner than what they want. Doesn't mean they didn't make it. It just means that their career, their athletic career, ends maybe in a time frame they didn't expect it to end. But it doesn't mean that their self-worth has to diminish. It doesn't mean they can't leave here with lessons and a toolkit for success. If they have been taught, if they have been loved, if they have felt that the university has really tried to give them as many resources as we possibly can to help them be successful. For me, the late night phone call, the dissection of maybe one particular person is because at the end of the day, at the end of their chapter at Alabama, I want to know, did I do my best to provide them the best? Doesn't mean they're going to accept it. Doesn't mean they're going to take ownership in it. But if I know I did, then you have to chalk it up to a teachable moment, a teachable time in their life, and hope maybe that's the athlete that'll come back 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, and go, oh, that's what you were talking about. That's what you meant about gratitude. Yeah. That's what you meant about choosing to have a great attitude. That's what mental toughness really looked like. I know sometimes I say it over and over again, but as some have said, you throw enough mud at some point, some will stick. Okay, I'm fine with that. But I know I can put my head in the pillow every night, knowing I did my best, that I brought what I could to the mental side, to the physical side, to the emotional side, and hopefully a part of to the spiritual side. It's important. And so, I don't know, I think that's why I love what I do, even the tough stuff. Because you learn your most from the times when you fell on your face. As a coach.
I can just tell that there's going to be a bunch of 55-year-old men listening to this podcast putting in recruiting forms to come compete for you here at the University of Alabama. They're going to, because you're speaking it. And thank you for calling me in those late nights, because that's why I do what I do.
And you're very good at it because you give me perspective. And many times you've given me a perspective that goes, hey, coach, you are doing everything you possibly can. But because I will not settle, because I'm an overachiever, and because I just, I guess I have such a passion for it, that sometimes I need someone to be like, hold still.
Yeah,
you're good.
Just take a deep breath.
Give it a minute.
Yeah. Because
here's the other thing,
I look at one up on that back wall that I think of very strongly.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. And, I'll tell you that one of the biggest lessons I'm learning, and I think will always be evolving, yes, my energy level is a 12. And many times I need my energy level to be an 8. Because a 12 is not going to be heard. But an 8 will connect.
Yeah.
And you want connection. So, you look at I have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. I want my children to have a connection with their parents. I want my children to have a connection with other influences outside. And I want my children to have a connection and a relationship with God. Those are the 3 things that I know are going on. So if I am preaching and I'm a 12 and it doesn't work for even my own children. Sometimes you have to become what you need to become to help the athlete, to become your child, to help your child really connect with you. And I think parents make sometimes a mistake, and I'm in this really cool Sunday school right now where it's about when your children are younger, you have power and control because they can't do things for themselves. Then all of a sudden they get a mind of their own and they can start making their own decisions. Well, if you don't have connection in those vulnerable years, all of a sudden when they are older and they're really trying to make decisions, are you going to have influence on that? Because if you're not connecting, you won't have influence. It's no different than my student athletes. Our student athletes need to feel connection. They're not going to feel connection if you don't take one-on-one time with them to develop a relationship with them, that they are more than just your athlete. They are a human being. They are a person. And they're going to have good days, and they're going to have bad days. And the emotional part, the meditation that we're doing and about trying to connect with emotion and realize emotion is not you. Emotion is what you're feeling. And you don't suppress anxiety. You don't suppress a bad day, a bad mood. You meet yourself where you are.
Yeah.
And you give yourself grace.
Yeah.
And you give yourself self-compassion. Doesn't mean you settle and, I just sit back and do nothing. I don't do anything about it. You just get real with yourself. You have the self-reflection. And then you go, okay, what am I going to do about it? You know what? You're going to let go what happened. And you're going to focus on how can I be good today. Today, I get today. Today is, I got
You
today.
get to coach them today.
I get to coach today. Well, actually, today's our off day.
Today's an off day.
But today I get to think about planning.
Yeah.
Today I get to meet with, Bill and Ryan and talk about what's tomorrow's practice going to look like. And then in tomorrow's practice, we have a plan. I hope the plan works. But, the whole idea of having this perfect plan, I have thrown that out of the that's out the window.
That's out the window.
You got to see what you got what's in front of you today. And I think it applies to life. It applies to you and what you do every day.
Mm-hmm.
It applies to the maid that's cleaning somebody's room. It applies to our athletic director. He's got decisions and things that he has to make, and those decisions trickle down to what we get to do. And we're blessed with resources. We're blessed with incredible facilities. We're blessed with the Crimson Standard that's going to affect every single student athlete and the fan experience that goes on.
Yeah.
Which makes our fans love our sport, which makes our fans love the university. And see how it's all interconnected? The energy of everybody and everything that we do is interconnected. The energy of our team and individual roles that everybody has and the coaching staff and the support staff, it all is interconnected. And if you don't take ownership in your role, are you a liability or an asset?
Yeah.
For me, I want to be an asset. And I want to be humbled and share humility that I will fall on my face. And I will apologize for when I don't do something right. But I'm going to take full ownership in that. And every time I get to do that. And grow.
Yeah.
And grow and grow and grow.
Well, there's no doubt. The growth that I've watched firsthand of your program and you. I'm so excited of what this season, next season, and watching these young professional athletes. I mean, I say professional because they're professional human beings. Mm-hmm. They're competing, and it's so great to watch. So thank you for doing this. Thanks for allowing me to be a part of your program and being trusted. And I'm just excited.
Well, we're all a part of shaping it.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be changing. It's never going to be the same. It's always going to be changing and evolving. You just hope you're on the right way and moving forward.
Well, Dana, it's
thank you.
Good
for
stuff
having
is
me.
coming. Make sure you check us out online to see the pictures of this place and the success and the national championships and Coach Dana Duckworth. It's awesome.
Well, thank you. And I have to end with a big old roll tide.
Hey, roll tide. That'll work. We'll do
you.
it. See, I said it. See,
You
it's
did.
good. I know.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. Thank you.